Yokoso, 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 arigato gozaimasu. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's the Stadia Monday Night Chat, episode 114. I am your host, Clive Illand, of course. Welcome, welcome. I hope you're good. I hope you're well. Happy Father's Day for yesterday for all the fathers. And I believe it's also John Scar's birthday, so happy birthday to John. Over on Stadium Connect North and John for Scars Gaming Channel and all of that. Welcome to the chat and all of that. We're going to have all the Stadia news. We have some potential breaking news, which could be very exciting if true, which has just arrived on my doorstep, as it were, my Twitter, basically, this very moment. Could be very exciting, so stay tuned for that. So, of course, we'll have all the Stadia news, Stadia games, gossip. We'll be talking about games that might have been, very briefly, and does it matter, and all of that, and everything else. Anyway, as ever, it's the Stadia Monday Night Chat. You, ladies and gentlemen, are the chat. Even Craig Anthony there is part of the chat. There. So welcome one and all. Let me know what games you've been playing, what games you're looking for, anything you want to discuss, things you want to bring up, all Stadia related, of course. I'm not your agony aunt. Anything like that, I'm always interested, and it always helps the show go and flow, go with the flow and all of that, whatever. Anyway, so, and to say, and before I forget, don't forget to hit the likes, because I like it. YouTube likes it. It helps people like you, wonderful, intelligent people like you, find great content like this. And if you are new here, like Craig Anthony, whatever, why don't you hit the subscribe button? He must have already hit it, because he wouldn't be in the chat. So thank you for subscribing anyway. But if you are new here, you want to join the chat, you have to be subscribed. So hit subscribe and join in the chat and all the fun. Right, before we get on with all the GNUs, the Stadia GNUs, and all of that, let's say hello to the early birds, the people at the front of the audience, ready to catch me when I stage dive in spectacular fashion into their arms, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's the early bird chat. Let's see who's in the early bird chat. Early doors, as we say. Victor. Hello, Victor. Lovely to see you. Jerome. Just bought Saints Row 3. Snap. Jerome, I bought Saints Row 3 a couple of days ago in the sale. And I have been enjoying it. There's been some stuttering on it, weirdly enough, but I've been enjoying it. Great game. A lot of fun. Liam. Hello, Liam. Sednar. Sednar's been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla and is listening while at work. Roger. And of course, Christopher Torres is always listening. Patrick O'Shea, it's all going down, Patrick. Stadia Adventure, I've been playing Journey to the Savage Planet. I got stuck on Journey to the Savage Planet. I don't know. Yeah, I sort of don't know where to go next on it and all of that. O'Shea there's been playing Extraction. Some, I was going to say there's some more content coming out for that, but no, it was Rainbow Six Siege I'm thinking of. Hello, Jerome. Jerome saying hello to everybody. Tally Darkstar, of course. Jamie, lovely to see you. Breaking Stadia will close next year. Very good, Craig. Very good. If you keep saying that, eventually, come the apocalypse, 50 years' time, you might be right. Exactly. Exactly. Metal Wolf, exactly. Jerry, hello. Dave, lovely to see you in the house today. My current game is Elder Scrolls, says Jeremy Monet. I've not got into Elder Scrolls. I have to be frank. Or jump there. Victor, if I knew offhand, there's lots actually. We do know. We could be seeing. I've got some news, but we do know this. If you look on the old Stadia Reddit wiki, don't look at the Stadia Reddit, just look at the Stadia Reddit wiki. You'll see there are lots of that's maintained by Ninja Guy X and company, and there's quite a few games coming out in the next few weeks. Definitely, we could see a game tomorrow, a big one. But I'm excited about this tweet if it's not fake or an error. Could be an error, but we'll come to it later. We'll come to that anyway. And now your mama knows Anthony is in the house, the cowboy, all of that. Jerome playing World War Z, Madden 22 Golf, Saints Row 3. Brilliant. Tally Star sloshing around in Outriders. I can't beat the boss. The final boss level. Oh, still got to beat Chris Tail soon, says Fosso and Elsa. Thanks for the information there, Craig. Get my butt kicked on Death Run TV, says Metal Rolf. Hello, Preston Casey. How are you? Special shout out to all my members. Thanks to the gifting that went on last week and the week before. Shout out to Consino and Jack the Slip for all of that. So special mention for all my members. And I had a little members exclusive stream. I don't game stream as Clive Illenden. If you want game streaming, it's usually Lord Kendall who does it. But I did make an exception just for my members and streamed on this channel. And we'll be doing more of that in the future just for members. And everybody can join in. Saints Row, the elected Saints Row is much better than the other one, the re-elected. So the third, Dave, is that what you're talking about? Saints Row the third remastered. Gahandra has been playing Lake, posting them letters. Twisted Barber, what's up? Assassin's Creed there, Dave Widnall. It's Purple Haze. Ladies and gentlemen in the house, hello, Purple Haze. Purple Haze had a lovely interview with The Rock. Not The Rock. Rock. Not The Rock. Rock. On her show. Very good. Good. I love that little podcast. Very nice, Purple. Preston's been playing golf. Bit of Tokyo Olympics, old school. That's very topical, Tokyo Olympics, isn't it? I've been playing... what have I been playing? Saints Row, the third, remastered. Started playing that yesterday. Fogs, with my teenage daughter. I said to her, because my son has been playing FIFA. My son's been scoring some amazing goals in, and I posted some on Twitter, in FIFA 22. And I said to him, why don't you teach your sister how to play FIFA? And she said, I'm not playing FIFA, so we played Fogs instead. Oh well. Deliver us the moon, says Roger. Oh, Ron Slusher is hungry. Oh, well, can't help you there, Ron. I've eaten, thanks. All of that. What did I eat? Yeah. If anybody knows other stuff on my channel, I ate some of that. Anyway, I think that's all good. Jamie Lee, no spoilers. Oh my God, Judgment. I must go back to Judgment. I do love that game. I wish we had the other ones on Stadia, definitely. Right, that is all good. That's hello to the chat and all of that. Without further ado, I think we're going to go and see Clive in the news studio to catch up with all the latest on Stadia. Are you ready, Clive? Yeah. So it's over to Clive in the news studio. Clive, over to you. Thanks, Clive. Here is the Stadia news for the Stadia Monday Night Chat. Last week saw the addition of Zorro the Chronicles on Stadia. The game is developed by Beacom and published by Nacon, and adds to the list of family-friendly titles on the platform already. Zorro the Chronicles is described as an exciting and humorous action-adventure that includes combat and exploration scenarios inspired by the TV series. The epic adventure immerses you in the world of the successful animated series, Zorro the Chronicles, where you protect vulnerable and innocent people from the evil general and his army. Skull and Crossbones has been spotted on the horizon for Stadia once again. A few weeks ago on this very show, we pointed out that Skull and Crossbones had been certified for release in Korea. Well, now it seems that it's been rated for all platforms, including Stadia, in Brazil. For those that don't know, the fact that they include Stadia in Brazil in the certification is not a sign that Stadia is suddenly coming to Brazil. It is that, as I understand it, publishers are required to list all the platforms the title is released for, whether that platform is available in Brazil or not. We've seen other titles rated for Stadia on the Brazilian rating site before. But could all this point to Skull and Bones being available soon? Axios reported recently 2 notable games doing the rounds at the moment that were originally in development with Stadia, according to their sources. In the Axios report, the Quarry from Supermassive Games and comedic sci-fi game High on Life were being developed for Stadia before Stadia closed SG&E in February 2021. As a result of the closure of SG&E, the funding on these titles were obviously cut, and they ended up going elsewhere. Supermassive Games announced in 2020 that they were hugely excited to be working with Stadia, and then with the closure of SG&E, we heard nothing more. Sometime later in February 2022, there were rumours that 2K Games would be releasing The Quarry, a new game from Supermassive, and then in March 2022, Supermassive Games officially announced The Quarry, their next game, and that it would be published by 2K Games. Given the timing, the speculation was that this game was probably what they were working on while they're in partnership with Stadia. Well, quelle surprise. According to Axios sources, this and High on Life, recently announced by Xbox, were both potential Stadia titles. As Axios states, none of this has been officially confirmed by Stadia or the developers, and neither of the games have been officially associated with Stadia. However, it does go to show some of the games we might have seen from Stadia Games and Entertainment. And there is no doubt that it's a great shame that we're not seeing these titles on Stadia. But Stadia did shutter SG&E 15 months ago, and as stated on this show many times, that inevitably meant a reduction in the funding, and sadly, these are not the first titles and won't be the last in terms of casualties of the closure of SG&E, in terms of speculating of what might have been. But you can't change the past, but you can look to the future. Talking of the future, Capcom announced some Resident Evil Village DLC coming on the 28th of October this year, just in time for Halloween, naturally. The new content expansion has third-person mode, which allows you to enjoy the main game from a third-person perspective. The Mercenaries, additional orders that adds new playable characters and stages, including the chance to play as Chris Redfield, Heisenberg, and of course, Lady Dimitrescu. In addition, the new stages have also been added to greatly enhance the mode's versatility and play volume. And Shadows of Rose is a brand new campaign that introduces a new story with Ethan's daughter Rose as the protagonist. Ethan's beloved daughter, Rosemary Winters, is living a healthy life, but struggling to come to terms with her innate special powers. She decides to dive into the world of the Megamycites, consciousness, or the realm of consciousness, to seal them. What she discovers is an extraordinary world far from the reality of the past, a collection of memories of that village absorbed by the Megamycite. And of course, RE-verse is also due to arrive soon. In the Stadia blog this week, Stadia announced 9 new trials offering timed access to full games on Stadia without needing to create a Stadia account, remember people. That's now 26 active click-to-play trials. The new trials include Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 6, Far Cry Primal, Outriders, Golf with Your Friends, Lake, Deliver Us the Moon, The Falconeer, La Motte, The Master Mote Chronicles, Through the Darkest of Times, Death Run TV. Once again, this is Stadia delivering on the strategy they laid out in the Google for Games Developer Conference in March. I can only see this list growing, which is all helping to build a platform that is both publisher and developer friendly and increase marketing and promotional opportunities for Stadia. Stadia also announced the latest season in Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, Operation Vector Glare. This season introduces Sens, a new Belgian operator, a new team deathmatch map, the first phase of the new reputation system, bringing privacy mode and reverse friendly fire sanctions, and more gameplay improvements. Assassin's Creed Valhalla Discovery Tour was also added to the Stadia library this week. A unique interactive experience where you learn about the history, traditions, and famous characters of the Viking era. Relive history through stories and 8 major quests and discover the Viking age of the 9th to 11th century Northern Europe. Interact with charismatic historical or fictional characters, including King Alfred, shipbuilders, monks, and more. In terms of Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed in general, Ubisoft have announced it will be revealing the future of Assassin's Creed in a September event. This was hinted at the recent 50th anniversary announcements last week. Ubisoft stated, the Assassin's Creed team hopes the community will enjoy these celebrations and invite all players to join them this September as they unveil the future of Assassin's Creed during a very special event. So make a date in the diary for that. Continuing on the Nordic theme, Ark's newest official community map was also added this week. Traverse a frosty and fantastical multi-layered Nordic wonderland, composed of 4 unique islands and 3 mystical realms. Fjordur contains over 140 square kilometres, new biomes, new challenges, and rewarding discoveries. In another awesome developer interview over on Stadium Connect North, you should really watch those interviews with developers, Way Forward Games talked about Mighty Switch Force and revealed that it would in fact be a Stadia Pro title. In addition, they said Shantae's Pirate Curse would also be coming to Stadia. I highly recommend you check out the interview on Stadium North. It's a great interview and gives you an insight of what it's like working with Stadia from a developer's point of view. Quick version, it's great. Could we see Roller Champions soon on Stadia? When Roller Champions was announced, it was on the basis that the PC, Xbox and PlayStation versions would launch first, with a Switch and then Stadia ones to follow later. Well, it's recently been revealed that the Switch version is potentially releasing tomorrow, and this coincides with the new Disco Fever season. So, fingers crossed, could we see the Stadia version released very soon, if not tomorrow? Let's hope so. And finally, there's an amazing Stadia summer sale happening right now, right here, with massive savings and loads of AAA games, indie games for both pro and non-pro members. So if you haven't already, now is the chance to get some games you've had your eye on the cheap. And there you go. That is the Stadia news for Stadia Monday Night Chat. So it's back to Clive in the studio. Clive, back to you. Thanks, Clive. So there you go, the Stadia news for the week. Now, just a quick update, ladies and gentlemen, on Saints Row. So, as we know, we saw Saints Row certified, but no guarantee, of course, on ESRB, but no guarantee it's coming to Stadia. And of course, some people rang up Deep Silver and Cop Media and said, or not rang up, contacted them and said, is it coming to Stadia? And of course, it's not officially announced it's coming to Stadia. So the response was probably, we can't confirm, or there are no plans for it to come to Stadia at the moment. And that would have been the official line. So we all have to take these things with a pinch of salt. However, that Bryant from the Nerf report discovered some underlying code in the, you can set up early on Saints Row and start designing your boss, your character, I think. And in that, he found some underlying code with reference to Stadia. So again, Is it coming? Isn't it coming? Is it coming? Isn't it coming? Well, today, last few minutes, we've got this. So, on a reçu notre invitation pour Santo et l'essai de la part de Koch Media France et at Deep Silver, la remake de Saints Row se retire sur PS4, PS5, XSX, PC et Stadia le 23rd août 2022. Or for those that don't speak French, we received our invitation for Santo Ileso from Koch Media France and Deep Silver. The Saints Row remake will be released for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox, PC, and Stadia on August 23rd, 2022. Until then, players can already create and customize their Saints thanks to the Boss Factory. So this is where the code that Brian found, the code. Shout out to Brian for that. So this is the press pack. Yeah, like a press invitation pack. You know, for the press. So they get this kind of little Saints Row pot of paint by all things. A postcard there. And on the back of the postcard, it's got this, you're invited basically to the presentation of the announcement of Saints Row. And then down here, it's got Stadia. Now, of course, this could be fate. We would really go to the bother of doing that because this is actually posted by this site here, Video Games News Test Previews and Discoveries, Actua blog, a French site. Let's check out their blog, see how legit they are. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell how legit as a blog it is, but they've obviously seemed to have a press pack. The other thing, you know, unless it's a mistake, but it would be a big mistake and very unfortunate if, after it being registered on ESRB, Brian finding the code mentioned in Stadia, and now this press pack postcard saying Saints Row. So, you know, are we 99.9%, as somebody on Twitter said? 99.9% sure that it's coming to Stadia? It's not official till it's announced, but this is interesting. Maybe we'll follow up. And I'm sure, like I say, if you just ring the press department or you ring the Deep Silver and you talk to the press department, they're just going to give you the official line. They're not even going to, you know, they probably don't even know. All they have is a script in front of them saying what, you know, the official announcement. So there's no guarantee that it's not coming, even if they say it's not currently, you know, planned, because that's not the official line. So this may not be the official line yet, although it looks like it is. So we'll just have to watch this space. But it would be great, obviously, if Saints Row did come, you know, a big AAA game to look forward to. Let me know what you think in the chat. Do you think this is genuine? To say it's a press pack. Why go to the bother of just adding? You know, I'm trying to look, you know, it's a pretty good Photoshop if you've Photoshopped it. Who knows? Why do that? Let me know anyway. Let me know in the chat what you think. But could be that we see Saints Row coming to Stadia in August, which would be absolutely marvelous. And then, of course, the other thing is Roller Champions. Could we see that announced tomorrow on the Stadia blog? I know we had one last week, but could we get a Stadia blog announcement, or just it announced because it's coming to Switch? Or alternatively, you know, now Switch is done, maybe the next one is the Stadia release, because they, as I said in the news, it was coming to Stadia, Switch and Stadia later. So they may decide, in order to have got it out early, that they were going to do the Switch one and then finish off doing the Stadia one. So we don't know. We don't know. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see. But that's exciting times, exciting news. Let me know if you'd look. I mean, I'd think it. Let me know if you're looking forward to the next Saints Row on Stadia. I'm just checking if there's any other clues. No other clues. Let's briefly talk. Well, there's one. No one has said it ain't coming. Well, there's one person who has said it ain't coming. I'll just leave that at. I'll leave that there. But let's briefly talk about, and it will be brief, ladies and gentlemen, will be brief. But since people like to talk about it, so I alluded to it in the Stadia news, this Axios article. In fairness to Axios, this article's very good, very well written. I like the way that they go. They make the state. You can agree with the sentiment. Was it by the writing and all that kind of stuff? But it says here, Google was involved in the creation of 2 notable video games in the spotlight this month before downsizing its Stadia game operation and sent those projects elsewhere. 2 sources familiar with the development tell Axios. So straight off in that first paragraph, they say what the article's about and they say it's based on a couple of sources. But then they say, why does it matter? And it says it just could fill out the picture of what could have been offered. If you want to speculate about that, that's fine. If Google hadn't abandoned its ambitions, the details, then it gives the details. Then it says what they're saying. Reps for both games declined to answer any questions about the Stadia routes. But we do know that Super Games was looking for a publisher partner as the project came to completion. It says Take-Two. And they were so basically they're quite upfront saying that nobody is confirming this story officially. But I don't doubt, I'm not trying to dismiss it. I think I like the structure of the article. I like it's written. I like, the catch up quick, big picture, all of that. I like that. I like their style. I like, nice and simple. But I'm not denying that it, of course, as I alluded to in the news, it's a crying shame. Obviously, we're not seeing the Quarry if that's what Supermassive were working on. Supermassive were also working on the port of Little Nightmares 2. So they did deliver something in terms of Stadia. It's speculative whether that at the same time they'd started working on the Quarry at the same time. We don't know, but this is what happens. And it's funny. I was talking to somebody about this. If you suddenly change your business strategy, reduce the budgets, shut down your first party studios effectively, and the publisher relationships that they have, the funding that they have, inevitably projects are going to be cold. That happens. And depending how far down the line, what usually happens when you are investing in, if you're a publisher and you're, in this case, sort of Stadia, and you're you're investing in a game, you pay the developer in stage payments. And for that first stage, it's like pre-development. Yeah, early doors. So they were probably very early doors. So it makes sense that you actually find the risk is low. You haven't invested that much money. The budgets have been cut. Walk away. You're going to have to ring up and say, I'm sorry, we're cancelling this project. We'll pay you for the work to date. It's probably only pre-production work at this stage. So that's not a lot of money risk-wise. And you just got to write it off. Whereas other projects may have been much further down the line and you sort of past the point of no return. And so, decisions had to be made about which projects, which games were funded or fully funded and which games that were perhaps early in development that they could just cut off. Now, I know this from my own bitter experience. I worked for a company that was also published its own games, entered into agreements with developers to develop the games. And then the mother company of the company I work for decided, actually, we don't want to be our own games publisher. We'll let somebody else do it. And we don't want to pay for game development. So we're just going to license out the brand, our intellectual property out. So we're shutting down the games department, the games section. Yeah. I was working there. They just shut it down. And then they just licensed out the IP instead. And we'd already entered into some development agreements for games that were there, due to deliver in another 2 years' time. And it meant that because we were very early stages, that I then had to renegotiate our way out of those contracts and basically come to a settlement on a fair price on the work they had done already. And then thus walk away, let them keep the rights. We pay them for the work to date, depending on how the contract was structured. So I've been in that situation where you've had to sort of, I'm sorry, the budgets have been slashed, and so we're having to cancel certain projects. And so I understand that. I appreciate it. So it is a shame, but we know, but as I mentioned in the news, Stadia Games and Entertainment closed 15 months ago. Inevitably, there were some projects that got kiboshed. We kind of know that. Stadia had a sort of reset February 2021. We know that. Inevitably, it's had an impact on the rate at which games come, or certainly large games. I've talked about that previously on this show, and how probably during 2021, we had the legacy of all the deals that had been done that we were told about in December 2020. And as we come into 2022, new deals were done following February 2021, and we're seeing those, and hence perhaps the slowdown in AAA games that we're seeing as they sort of ramp up again. So we kind of know it. And whilst it's interesting, I suppose, to speculate about what might have been, it is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. It is what it is. So it's a crying shame, but what are you going to do about it? If you didn't realize by now that Stadia had a strategy change, and we're seeing the implications of that, and we've seen them over the last 15 months, and you're not happy with the speed and rate at which games are coming to Stadia following that reprioritizing and strategy change, fine. You don't have to like it. But Stadia aren't sitting on the butt. And I don't imagine, I know, and I'm going to show you why. It must be very frustrating for Stadia, or Stadia staff in particular, to see, the kind of typical negative news. Now, I know this because a member of the Stadia staff talked about it. I'm going to share this with you. This is Gracie, works at Stadia. I'm sharing this because it's public. She tweeted it, so it's public news. Stadia is, so Gracie gets involved with the Stadia community. She's often involved, she's often in Stadium Connect North's chat with John Scars and Ninja Guy X, always in there. She loves their show. Well, I think she does because she's always in the chat there. And she's not the only one, I think, that watches a lot of the Stadia community content. They don't always show their face, but Gracie is one of those people. And she says here, I love my job. Google is an amazing company to work for, no surprise there, and I'm super grateful to be part of it. And I love our Stadia partners and players. Feeling grateful today. That's somebody who's working for a company that has a future. Otherwise, why be happy and grateful? Yeah, you never know what's around the corner, of course. But then somebody goes here about, there seems to be there's always a lot of bad news. And interestingly enough, she says here, Because some say you need to be more visible, and we need, want to know obviously what's happening with Stadia. I get that. Of course we do. We know, we all love to know that. And she says, I agree with visibility being important. I do, however, and this is the key thing here, and this is what we're saying, you can play whack-a-mole or just get on and be positive and talk about the Stadia news, talk about games that are coming out for Stadia, like I do on this show. Or you could just keep harping on about misinformed articles. And you say to me, oh, Clive, you say misinformed articles. You just say that because you don't agree with it. Yeah. Well, no. I'll tell you why they're misinformed articles. Because Stadia are telling us that they're misinformed articles. This is, again, Gracie from Stadia. I do think, though, that it's impossible to counter each sometimes completely misguided article that comes out. I'm not associated, by the way, just because I talked about Axios, let there be no confusion. I'm not talking about them. I haven't got a problem with that article. That's a fine article, as I said. It's interesting. I'm not talking about that. But we know there are many pieces done about Stadia. Any slight bad news about Stadia, then there's a piece done on it. And this is the Stadia stuff saying it's very frustrating. Sometimes I read things and just shake my head and face palm. You and me both, Gracie. You and me both. Yeah? Just face palm. But that's the internet, I guess. And then the interesting thing here is she says, I think it's best for us to spend the energy creating new cool things and maintaining a good service other than arguing with online haters. Exactly. This isn't from some random person. This is a member of the Stadia staff. They've got a future. They've got plans. We just don't know about it. And I know, I get that it's really frustrating. It's frustrating for me because I sit here every week and tell you everything's sort of wonderful-ish, or why I think Stadia are doing certain things. Now, do I know 100%? Of course I don't. I know what other people know. The difference is what you do with that knowledge. It's like comprehension. Yeah, at school, reading comprehension. There's different levels. Yeah. John put on his coat. John put on his woolly coat and left his house, closing the red door. Right? Basic comprehension. What color was the door? Red. What was the character's name? John. Okay, that's basic comprehension. Slightly more advanced comprehension. What season is it? Oh, they never said that. I don't know. They never said it. Well, use your knowledge and understanding. John put on his winter coat. His woolly coat. Oh, it's winter. I get it. Yes. You see? So we all have the same knowledge, but a little bit of understanding can shine a greater light on that same knowledge that everybody has. That's all I'm saying. So it's good that things you think, or that I think, or other people think, are confirmed by A, what Stadia does. Yeah. B, what staff say. C, what developers say. Those are the people you need to listen to. Listen to Stadia. What are they saying in their announcements? What are they saying in their blogs? Nothing, Clive. They're not saying anything. That's the problem. Well, they do. You just choose to ignore the hints here and there. Yeah. So in a way, forget everything else. Just listen to what Stadia says. Stadia said, February 2021, we're changing our strategy. This is what we're going to be doing. Yeah. Google for Games Developer Conference. Stadia speaks. This is we're going to change the business model. Yeah, we're going to make it easier to bring games to Stadia. Yeah, Google for Games Developer Conference 2022. We're introducing these new porting tools. We're introducing free trials. We're introducing game landing pages. And then they've done all of that. They've done that. 26 trials now, free trials, and that's only going to grow. So everything Stadia have said since February 2021, they've done. Yeah. So why are we not to assume that what they say they will continue to do? So when a staff member says it, and it's not just Gracie, when you see a product engineer talk about it, yeah, the immersive stream, working with partners, just as they said in February 2021, they've done it. AT&T, 2 games. Capcom demo. Oh, which reminds me, actually, Capcom demo. I found a very interesting thing. I wonder if I can find it here. Let me just see if I can find it here on the Resident Evil page. Let me know what you think this might mean. Might not mean anything, but let's find the landing page. What I need, yeah, not the main. What I need is the game page. I found some interesting language on here. I'm just sorry, bear with me. I'm just looking. It's on the game landing page, not the page in the store. Oh, I know what it is. I've got the, let me just go incognito. But it was just some, it's not on any other title. Right. This is what I'm talking about. Sorry, people. Not that. Not that. Bear with me here when I bring this up to the screen. Right, because I'm in cognito, it won't show me. Right, let me just go here. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Right. Look at this. Now, I don't know what this means, but I think it's very interesting. This title, this is Resident Evil Village, which we know Capcom has a demo of on the Capcom site. This title may become available through other means in the future. I've no idea what that, well, I have some ideas, but it would be pure speculation about what that means. This title may come available. Does that potentially mean that Capcom are leaving it open to have their own store? And you would access the game if you were on Stadia, or you already own it on Stadia. You'd play it on via Capcom. I don't know. Caseball says, is that not coming up? There we are. Capcom white label channel. It's not on any other, it's not on Resident Evil 7. And it's not on any other title. And it's on the game page, landing page. Yeah. And it just says the title may become available through other means in the future. Very interesting. If you see any articles or videos that mention this, you know where you saw it first, ladies and gentlemen. Right here. I just thought it was curious. It may not mean anything at all. It also may just mean, you know, Capcom are just in the contract to just covering their bases. You know, there may be a clause in the contract that says, you know, what happens if Stadia goes away kind of thing. You know, I don't know, but it's the only game I've seen it on. So anyway, that's interesting. I thought it was interesting anyway. Now, as I say, so listen to what Stadia says. Listen to what, you know, the Stadia engineers say when they tweet things or retweet things, yeah? And then the other thing is listen to developers. I mentioned earlier that, you know, Four Scars Gaming over on Stadium Connect North did that amazing interview. It's a great interview with Way Forward Games, who are bringing Mighty Switch Force to Stadia and brought Shantae's Curse. and Shantae Pirate Curse, whatever, and all the other Shantae games, they had a lot of high praise for, again, working with their Stadia account manager, their product manager, their engineers. Yeah. Now, as I've always say, you can't just rely on one source. Yeah. There needs to be a pattern of behavior to make a point. So we've also seen Furion Games, yeah, who are bringing Death Carnival to Stadia, say working with Stadia is absolutely amazing. If you need an engineer, they give you an engineer. They respond to you really quickly. Amazing. So that's 2 developers. And then then you've got Eves, who brought us 100 Days, the wine simulation game, saying, mate, if you're an indie, get your game on Stadia Pro, because you could earn, for an indie game, it can earn you roughly 21%, between 20 to 25% of your total income from Stadia, having a game on Stadia Pro. Voldy Way from Way Forward Games, on the interview with John Scars on Stadium Connect North about Mighty Strike Force, said he highly recommends, indie developers, put their game on Pro. Again, these aren't random people down the bloke, down the bloke. These aren't random people down the pub. These aren't random people on Reddit who think they know better. These people aren't me saying it, who doesn't actually work for a game developer or doesn't work for Google or Stadia. No, it's developers who are in the process of developing games with Stadia, and so far they have nothing but praise about the relationship and how it works. So there is enthusiasm clearly at Stadia. That's all I'm saying. And the only reason that exists can be because they know the future. Yeah, they've seen the internal presentations and they're excited about it. That's all I'm saying. Let me know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think in the chat, of course, as ever. But it's just nice to hear these interviews, especially the interviews that John Scars Gaming, happy birthday, John, if you're now listening, or if you're still streaming, I don't know, say about positive things about Stadia. And it's not just because of course they're going to say it, they're making a game for them. No, the positive things they say are more than just saying, yeah, it's okay, or no, we have a great working relationship. It's like you can hear the passion and the surprise almost at how responsive Stadia staff are when they have issues and problems, So anyway, I just thought I'd share that. It was lovely to see Gracie's comments there. It was lovely to see Gracie confirming the fact that it's very frustrating when you see all these misguided and misinformed articles about Stadia. And I think she's right. The best thing is just to ignore it. We're only in a tiny bubble, really. Get on and enjoy playing your games on whatever platform you are. Don't worry about it too much. Yeah. And if people can't live with the fact that you might enjoy a platform or a certain platform happens to suit you. Yeah. Stadia happens to fit me, my lifestyle and my gaming lifestyle perfectly. It got me thinking about why there's often so much negativity around Stadia. And yeah, of course, why, say, the gaming press in particular, or gamers, hardcore gamers, are so negative about it. And it dawned on me recently, and it's just a theory I have, that the people who write about games, the people who make content about games, yeah, the people who obsess about all the latest AAA games, yeah, are hardcore gamers by their very nature. Yeah, you don't write about games unless you're like a hardcore gamer and really into gaming. Yeah, and if you're into gaming, you're either into gaming as a PC gamer. Yeah. You want the latest PC, you want the latest graphics, top end gaming. That's what I want. I'm a hardcore gamer. Yeah. Or you're the first one in the queue to get a PlayStation 5. I've got to have a PlayStation 5 because I've got to buy Spider-Man Morales. You know, I've got to buy that now. I've got to have an Xbox because I want to be the first to play Halo. I've got an Xbox Series X. Nothing else will do. Yeah. You expect the best. You want the best. Yeah. And that's fine. You know, it's fine to be a gamer like that. Of course it is. To be really, really into gaming. What Stadia is offering, though, is a different kind of gaming for a different kind of gamer, arguably. Yeah, the more casual gamer, who aren't that obsessed that they read all the gaming press, who aren't obsessed to actually watch other content creators talk about games. Yeah. They just play games on the side. So the people in the gaming industry or the gaming press and commentators and people who tweet about gaming, the most are the most vocal. Yeah. So the most vocal people are the most hardcore gamers. And Stadia's arguably not for them. The quiet people who just love casually gaming or game with their kids and all that kind of stuff, aren't obsessed about gaming and writing about gaming, tweeting about gaming, creating content about gaming, yeah, are more likely your Stadia user. That's not to say you don't have hardcore gamers who love Stadia and all of that, but what I'm saying is the majority, they're in the minority. The majority of the Stadia player base, I imagine, is just a casual gamer, maybe a lapsed gamer, but it's certainly not an obsessive gamer. And therefore, what Stadia is offering, of course it disappoints the hardcore gamer. Yeah? Of course it's going to fall short of the hardcore gamer. And unfortunately, it's falling short for the most vocal, that vocal minority. Yeah, the most vocal people within gaming, the ones that talk about it. Stadia falls short of their expectations. Of course it does. That makes perfect sense. So it just dawned on me, really. That's perhaps why we see a lot of negativity around Stadia. Because it doesn't meet the gaming requirement of someone who is really, really, really into gaming. And the people who are really, really, really into gaming are the most vocal on social media or in the press. So there we are. That's not, not to say there are people who are, mad into gaming and love Stadia and, early adopters and all of that kind of stuff. Of course it is. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying the majority of gamers, I bet the core demographic, when I look at the core demographic of people who watch this video, it is basically 30 to 50, 100% male. Yeah. I know there are some, non-males, some females who watch this show, but obviously not enough to register as a, in the stats. So it's a very specific people who watch that. And even of those people, they are the people who love talking and tweeting about gaming to a certain degree and about cloud gaming. But anyway, it's just, here's to all the people who aren't that bothered about, don't follow gaming on Twitter or aren't in Reddit, aren't that bothered about Reddit. They just play games and then get on with their lives. Here's to all those people. And here's for Stadia meeting their requirements. I would argue at the moment, the question, are they building to that point to retain the status for long term? I'd say based on what they're, yes. So Case Ball, I think, this is MM2K responding. I think that they've had a reset. It takes time. You've got old contracts. What they're trying to do is put everything in place. Everything in place following this reset. The porting tools, reducing the Q&A process, the QA process, better incentives for Stadia Pro, the free trials, opening up the Stadia, the game landing pages, all of this. They're putting all the tools in place, yeah, for the next big push. And the next big push is country expansion. And as we've said many times on this show, when this rolls out to another country, think about what they will be offering. Yeah. Right now, said it loads of times, you may not be happy with the amount of games coming out and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine, that's cool, makes perfect sense. But right now, Stadia is the best it's ever been. Yeah. That's a fact, because it's constantly growing, incrementally, it's growing. It's got more Stadia Pro games in its library than it's ever had before. Yeah. It's got 26 free trials ready to go. It's got over 200 games in the Stadia library. Yeah. So if you're brand new to Stadia, i.e. in another country, and they go, right, we're launching Stadia now, as I've said before, they're launching a very compelling package. And it's also, they launch in another country, they increase the user base, it suddenly becomes slightly more interesting for EA or Take-Two or whatever, who, as I said before, I think on last week's show, can't be bothered to get out of bed for the scraps that they're going to get from Stadia right now, and are quite happy to sit at the sidelines and wait until Stadia have a bigger player base. Yeah. And it's not the game's going to get the bigger player base. It's country expansion that's going to give you the bigger player base. And when Stadia expand to a different territory, as I said, they have a very compelling offer. So that's my theory. So I think we are in a period of sort of stasis and building, but I think they're building to something. That's my theory anyway. Where was your original here? Clive, can I ask a question? Will Stadia have negotiated with EA to port FIFA and Madden to Stadia and have exclusivity? It's just weird that no other platforms, FIFA and Cloud. No, so the original deal that they did, that they had to do, they had to obviously spend lots of money, give all these big publishers big advances. It's a brand new platform. Publishers are saying, well, why should we be on it? Why should we take the risk? Convince us. Here's $10 million. Does that convince you? Yes, it does. It does. Right. So they did a five game deal with EA, and then that deal came to an end. And from that, I think Stadia were hoping, that it would prove the case and that they wouldn't necessarily have to give such massive advances. Or if they did, that those advances would be recouped. Because effectively what you're doing is saying, here's 10 million on the basis that you'll make over 10 million in sales. So we'll get that investment back. But obviously if Stadia didn't hit the player base numbers that they expected, then that's clearly, they're not going to recoup those amounts that they laid out for those early, those $10 million here and there to get those, if that's what they paid, to get those big games on the platform. So second time around, they're depending on EA or 2K Games or Take-Two or whatever to bring the games of their own accord on the basis that they'll make lots of money from it. Yeah, because the player base is big enough, or because the sales of FIFA 22. So what my feeling is that the sales of Madden 22 weren't enough for EA to get out of bed. But my gut feeling is the sales and revenue that EA makes from FIFA 22 on Stadia probably does pass that mark. And that's why I think we will see FIFA. And that will be a standalone. I'm not even sure it'll be a deal. That will be an arrangement, that maybe some money will change hands, but it won't be a massive advance. It will be an advance that is realistic in terms of recoupment. And it will be a decision that EA make on the basis they think, actually, we will make, enough money in our return on investment for the person approving the investment in the porting, EA to go, we've looked at the figures. We looked at the sales of FIFA 22 and the revenue that we receive from all the Stadia games and foot points and all that kind of stuff. And you make enough return on investment. It hits the right percentage marks. So yes, go ahead, port the game again. Since also you've you've sunk some of those port costs already from last year. You know, you can do it. Port the game to Stadia because you will make a return on our investment. That's what I think personally. That's why I think we might see FIFA 22 again. Might be wrong, but you never know. Preston Casey says, I feel the cloud gaming in general has gotten a negative reception because it challenges the status quo. Absolutely, 100%. We've said before again on the show, and other people have said it. It's a different way of thinking. It's not tribal. The reason gaming was tribal is because you're making a £500 investment on a box. So you made that £500 investment. You sort of feel protective. You feel like you've made that commitment. You've entered a relationship at 500, quid, $500 for an Xbox or $500 for a PlayStation 5. And it was you, and that helped kind of, and the reason they do, the reason that they have to have big exclusives and spend lots of money is because Xbox have got to convince you to spend 500 quid on a box, or PlayStation have got to convince you to spend 500. So that's the business model, convincing you, because they've got to shift hardware. Yeah, they've got to sell hardware and make a massive investment in that hardware. So big money, big risks. Yeah, and then from that business model comes tribal gaming, because people have to spend 500 quid and become very possessive about that. And then there's the master race, PC master race, looking down on these console gamers. Yeah. So that's always existed. Stadia come along, GeForce Now come along and say, you don't have to spend, Luna. You don't have to spend 500 quid. You can play these games here straight away. So you can have Luna. I don't know how much it costs in America, whatever, $10, whatever. You can have Stadia, $10 a month or nothing, and just buy the games you want. Not costing you anything a month. So suddenly it goes, well, actually, it doesn't. I don't have to be tribal about it. But it's that mind shift, that somehow you can't game on lots of different things, or that somehow the business isn't about selling a box anymore. Yeah, and xCloud know this, Microsoft know this. That's why they're going massive into cloud gaming. Of course they are. It's the next big frontier in terms of entertainment. We've seen it with music. We've seen it with films, television, and films. And gaming, if it works, is inevitably the next form of entertainment that will be streamed direct to your house. And we know it works. Stadia proved it works. And now xCloud have proved that they can do it as well. GeForce Now proved they can do it. And with a shiny 3080, RTX card in their servers, they can do it very, very well if you want to pay the price. So we know cloud gaming works, therefore it definitely is the next frontier in streaming entertainment. And Xbox know that. And it's going to save them a hell of a lot of money and risk of not having to build big boxes. Yeah, I think they still will build another generation of box, but definitely after that, what's the point? And that changes the whole mindset and the whole business model, the whole mindset of the business, the mindset of gamers. But that takes time to turn people around, yeah? Because we become, fixated for the last 20, 30 years of the business model being the same. Any form of streaming, entertainment, music, films, TV, games, disrupts industries that have done the same thing for the past 60, 70, 30, 50 years. Yeah? The same business models and the same type of consumer behavior, Suddenly streaming comes along, music, disrupts the music industry like you've never seen before. Yeah, the music industry's been the same from vinyl records, cassettes, CDs. It's basically the same. Yeah, it's selling products, sell the product. Yeah, physical product, sell the product. Yeah, you got to store the product, you got to ship the product, you got to stock the product. Yeah, the same for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Then music streaming comes along, blows the whole it's a disruptor, disrupts the business model. Yeah, I work for a TV company. Yeah, 70 years, the same thing. You make TV programs out, they're X amount, they're so many minutes long to fit a slot. They go out at these times on the slot. You put your best shows out on a Saturday night on these timings. You put your daytime shows out on this time. People watch, sit down. Each week we watch an episode. That same, so your business model has been the same for 70 years. Your consumer behavior has been the same for 70 years. Then comes along, comes Netflix, Amazon. Disrupts it. No, programs don't have to be 30 minutes long, 25 minutes long, an hour long. They could be however long they want. You can watch all the series in one go. You can binge watch it. You can watch it when you want. You don't have to be sitting in front of the telly at 9 o'clock. Yeah, like 10 p.m. watching the Stadia Monday Night Chat every 10 p.m. Yeah, don't have to. Watch it when you want. Download it. Save it for later. It disrupts the business model and it disrupts consumer behavior. And businesses have to adapt to the new consumer behavior. And exactly the same thing we are seeing and will happen with game streaming. Yeah, it's disrupting the business model and it will disrupt consumer behavior. But we're only at the beginning of it, really. And that behavior will change over time. And as I said before, when you know, all gaming is done via some fancy smart app on your TV, like on the Samsung Hub, there's some Samsung Gaming Hub on their brand new TVs. You've got xCloud, Stadia, GeForce Now, and Utomic. Yeah. Same on my LG TV. Fire it up. GeForce Now, Stadia. If you've got a Google TV, I think you can get the GeForce Now app on that. You've got your Stadia app. And when that becomes the norm, the market is truly disrupted. In my opinion. But there we go. Wow. All this was unprompted. This is what chat does, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't have a script today, believe it or not. Let's go to chat. See if chat is working. Oh, that's old chat. Oh, it's working. Let's see if new chat is working. Sorry. I got new chat. Let's go to new chat. Oh, there we go. It's working. Let's see what you lot have been saying. Do you like new chat? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what I see. You know, I was off on one then. Completely unscripted. But I've been thinking about it. Game development as a whole slowed down this year. I think there have been lots of delays. I think we've seen delays over the last... I think games have always had delays. But maybe we're just more acutely aware of it. And what with COVID and stuff. You know, you remember... It may have been one of the many factors around, you know, Stadia's slightly wet, damp squib of a launch. Doom Eternal was meant to come out, I think, in December 2021. Boom, massive game. And it got delayed to about March. And then in March, you were meant to see in March 19. December 2019, I think we were meant to have Doom Eternal. Right? Imagine that on Stadia. Stadia launches in November, and then December 2019, you've got Doom Eternal. Didn't happen. Got delayed until March or whatever it was. Cyberpunk was then meant to come out in like January, February, March time in 2020. So 2-3 months later, you got Cyberpunk. Boom! Yeah? Didn't happen. Got delayed. None of this was Stadia's fault. Got delayed until, you know, October 2020. At least two massive games that were meant to come out very close to each other on Stadia near their launch didn't happen. So we know there's been lots of, I'm not using it, that's one of many factors, I'm sure. But there's loads of, just going to move my chat. Okay. Yeah, there's loads of games that have been delayed. So I think you're right. I think there's definitely been delays. I got Tokyo Olympics Doom 64. I quite like Doom 64. It's quite fun. Saints Row 4. Oh, yeah. I get you, Dave, there. We'll miss all the argument with the troll there. Don't need that. Stadia Adventure says the postcard. So this is in relation to the tweet I sent. The postcard and cactus are real. However, I can't find the written side of the postcard anywhere. Yeah, well, I need to contact somebody in the press. Maybe it's just the French PR department at Cock Media. Yeah, we all know the troll there. It's not really adding to the conversation. Yeah, Jeremy, exactly. But, you know, the point is, if you write an article, we talked about it, everybody knows negativity sells. I could do a video, you know, and wax lyrical about, oh, Stadia, imagine Stadia if it had the Quarry. Oh, what would have Stadia been like? Why bother? Why bother? Let's just focus on the future. What future, Clive? Yeah, let's just talk about the future of Stadia. That's all I'm saying, you know, and enjoy the present. Live in the present. Live now on all of that. Oh, there's an ongoing... Thank you, Jamie, for, you know, for... Is it Jamie? Yeah, getting involved in there with the troll, but save your breath, Jamie, to be honest. And Metal Wolf. Don't feed the trolls. Remember, it's no point in never argue with an idiot, because they bring you down to they'll bring you down to their level and win by experience. Yeah. I play GFN, Stadia, Luna, all good platforms, all have their pros and cons. There we go. Exactly. And given the level of entry price, you know, why not play, you know, if you can play the games where they are, if you can afford it, and, you know, and if you don't have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, you know, I've still got my Xbox. I just don't get round to playing, even on xCloud. And in fact, when I use Xbox, I only ever use xCloud because I can't be bothered to clear space on my Xbox to download a game. So if it's not an xCloud, I'm not interested in playing it. And the only reason, but most of the play on the Xbox is my daughter playing Minecraft. That's it. Bigger than anything released and staying there this year. I thought it was quite interesting. The troll was saying, yeah, they've got no big games, no AAAs, just as we were talking about Resident Evil Village and the new DLC and Ubisoft Roller Champions and Assassin's Creed, new content coming, and an announcement about Assassin's Creed and Skull and Bones. But apart from them that we mentioned in the news item, yeah, it's got no big games coming. Potentially Saints Row, yeah. It was a good interview. Stadia beats. Well, you know, it depends what you're looking for, Roger, in fairness. Do I need to move my little chat thing down? I think I do, my chat highlight. Let's just move it down a little. No, that's not it. No. Actually, what we need to do, yeah, that's better. Put it behind. Right. There we go. Sorry, I was doing a bit of OBS work while I stream, ladies. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies. Right, where were we? Craig. You know, you realize, obviously, you've got to subscribe in order to be in the chat. So thanks, Craig. How much does the video pay to come to Stadia YouTube channels advertise? Anyone know? Well, you know, who knows? It costs a lot of money. Again, great interview. Very enlightening, very illuminating. What I was surprised about was how little he knew about other Stadia stuff. He just obviously had conversations from an engineering point of view about getting the game across. So I think I think we're going to put him in touch. I'm talking about Voldy Way, if that is real name, from Way Forward Games, developer of Mighty Strike Force. I think we're going to put him in touch with some porting houses. I say a group of people, and some other developers and stuff, so that he can and information about the low end porting and all of that, because he seemed really excited by that. And there are other games, obviously he's in the thing with the developer is you enter deals with publishers and distributors. So you can't always just say, oh yeah, I'll bring that game to Stadia. You have to sort of maybe talk to your publisher and distributor, because they're the ones that have given you an advance or invested in your game. So you kind of need their permission sometimes. I like the Stadia tech, but it never releases the bigger games. Craig, that is true. I say not never, but I understand how that's the perception, and that's fair enough. Saints Row is coming to Stadia. Roger's positive about it. The same here, Jeremy. Right now, in a way, I've adapted my game playing style without realizing, not like subconsciously, to the fact that I look forward to. There are a few games I'm really interested in. There's lots of massive games like Elden Ring. I'm not that bothered about it. If it came to Stadia, would I play it? Of course I would. I'd be playing it, yeah. But I'm not. There's nothing really big game wise that really excites me. That's not to say if they didn't come to Stadia, I'd be all over them, yeah, like a rash. But I've got into the habit of there's things like FIFA, Resident Evil, big games, or Rainbow Six Siege that I can jump into, PUBG, all those things, the Saints Row, Assassin's Creed games, Ubisoft games. I can jump in. I've got plenty of big games. I've already, Tomb Raider, all of that. I love playing all those that I can play. Red Dead Redemption. Plus all these interesting, quirky indie games that I would never have thought about. And I've sort of adapted into kind of looking forward to, for instance, when Stadia Pro time comes around and like discovering new games, or when a new game is announced going, oh, I might give that a go. And because you're not downloading it, waiting, you can have that. Even if it's not a pro, you just buy it, give it a go. It's not for me. If it's less than 2 hours, you refund it. You've not had to make space on a hard drive, not had to wait and download, and then the moment's passed. So it's changed the way I game. When I think about it, I think it will change the way many people game. And maybe people would stop gaming because of the investment in time, the investment in equipment. We'll start gaming again. And I think that's where we'll see growth. Exactly as what I just said, wasn't it? Jeremy confirming, yeah. Roller Champions, Avatar, Resident Evil. Yeah. I enjoy Far Cry Primal, but I got distracted like a magpie with something else. Old game's a good game. Well, I'd never played Red Dead Redemption until last year. Been out for ages, but I'd never played it. So to me, when I played it, yeah, it was a new game. Fun games are always fun games. Exactly. Old games are good games. Yeah, sometimes you go back to an old game and then you're really disappointed because you have like a nostalgic view of it. And then when you play it again, it would be a very good get. Outright Studios has said they will eventually bring all. Yeah, well, Wired Productions want to bring many games, but I said what some developers will have multiple relationships with different publishers. Some will have one relationship with the publisher, and they will need to talk to their publisher about, can we bring it to Stadia? That's one issue that as a developer you might have to consider. The other issue is, and this is what Voldy Way from Way Forward Games said in that interview that I talked about. He said that in terms of bringing games, it's a lot easier to bring a Stadia game. It's a lot easier to bring a new game that they're working on. Now they've ported things to Stadia. they've got the mechanics. If they're developing a game, to develop it at the same time for Stadia, it's a lot easier to do that than to go back to a really old game and then try and port that to Stadia. And I thought that was an interesting point. It's a lot easier to port a newer game or a game that you're in development with to Stadia than to go back and port really old games. So it was just an interesting observation that a developer made. I'm not making this up. This is what a developer for Stadia said. So they're working on a game now. This is way forward. And he said, yeah, well, they'll consider bringing it to Stadia because it's a lot easier to do at this early stage of development. So there we go. No one official has said it isn't coming. That's interesting. Yeah. Hello, Jay. How are you, sir? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking at the Twitter page. Something saying about more news about Saints Row. Just tweet right in the middle of tweeting. That's so rude. We were told Scarf was coming to Stadia and then it wasn't. Also Dying Light said Stadia on the video and was moved. Exactly. But statistically speaking, Anthony, I'd say 80% of games that have been said they're coming to Stadia come to Stadia. And also some of these were probably during the time impacted by the closure of SG&E. We're far enough out now for SG&E, probably, or getting close to it. The games are either coming to Stadia or they're not coming to Stadia. Yeah. Whereas decisions may have been made about things like Dying Light and stuff like that. We don't know. Anyway. Shock Horror, Halo Infinite's not coming to PS5. Pokemon not, yeah. Cheeky, Zero Games, cheeky. Yes, but if our predictions are right, are going to be really crude now. But that none will be gushing come the end of the year. All right? Disgusting. I'm just playing along with his metaphor. Leave his metaphor alone. Hey, Crow Resin, how are you there? Hey, Bayram. Mr. Bayram is in the chat. Yoshida, arigato gozaimasu, konbanwa. Yokoso. Sugoi. Nano. Sugoi, Yoshida. Get Ray's in the chat. Bree, it is what it is. It is what it is. Exactly. You know. It's a fine article. It's not. It's not. There's obviously an element of speculation, but they're basing it on their sources. But it's not over speculating and trying to ram home the point. It's a fair enough. Wow, these games could have been on Stadia. Fair enough. But there we go. Comprehension. Do you like that? MM2K, take that. I was thinking about it, yeah? How do I express that we might all have the same knowledge, but understanding that knowledge is different? No wonder I get quotes on Reddit. He's arrogant and very condescending. He says things in a very condescending way, and I don't like him. I don't like that guy. Thank you, Roger. Primary source evidence. Exactly. This is what we try to do. I look around. If I see something, I don't always take it at face value. Because sometimes I've seen stuff and I thought, oh, I wonder what that means. But then I've not talked about it or not published it or, talked about it because I'm not totally convinced by the source after researching it a bit. So I've left it. But if I research something and I see enough evidence to suggest that maybe it's worth talking about, then I'll talk about it. Whereas, you know, I know, well, I'm not going to talk about what other people do. I'm just saying what I do. That's all that matters. Yo, Lo-Fi. Good to see you, sir. Had to save money. Oh, no. Oh, my God. I went to my kids. I said, do you use Spotify? And she said, you're not cancelling Spotify. All right. Okay. 16 quid for a family account. Unbelievable. I hardly use Spotify. I use YouTube Music because I like YouTube Music, but my daughter likes Spotify. But I have to have a family account because it's cheaper for all of us to have Spotify. Anyway. I don't have much to say anymore about Stadia's ups and downs besides just play the games. Exactly, Anthony. There we go. Boom! It is interesting, isn't it? Why is that wording on the Resident Evil Village? It may be just related to the demo. That they may just be making reference to that. Maybe they have a longer, maybe, you know. The demo is a timed demo, isn't it? So it might just be making reference to that on the Stadia on the Resident Evil Village landing page. Don't know. It was just interesting. I saw it when I was you know, preparing the show at the weekend. I just saw it and thought, And then I started looking on other landing pages and I couldn't see it anywhere else. So I think it relates to the demo in some way. Stadia no longer caters to me. That's because you've got new friends and PlayStation friends, haven't you, Anthony? Yes. I'm joking, Anthony. No, that's cool. I pay 4K 120. FIFA is amazing on Stadia. No question about it. I so hope FIFA 23 comes back. Not only because I want it for the platform, but then I can get my son to start FIFA 23 on his account. Because at the moment he started playing it on my account, FIFA 22, and now if he wants to play FIFA, he has to play in my account, so I can't play Stadia. But if he plays it if he sets up on his account FIFA 23 from the get-go, then he can play it on that. Could be consignio, but I think the more I think about it, I think because the demo is a timed demo, I think it may relate to that the game is actually available through a different source. Who knows? If Stadia no longer caters for you, then why are you here? Yeah. Well, I think, you know, I guess if people still have an interest in Stadia, then that's fine. I guess what I you know, which is what's slightly annoying is people who absolutely who like it requires effort to write toxic, hateful, not necessarily hateful, but negative stuff when you're genuinely not interested in Stadia. So it means the Stadia is living in your head, sort of rent-free sort of thing, and that sort of thing. And I see it on Reddit all the time. That sort of thing, I think, you know, generally think, you know, there's products I've got I really like, and then they didn't turn out well, so I stopped using the products. But I don't go to the products Reddit page and constantly go on about it. I just move on to the next thing. Yeah. But people, you know, different horses for courses, as they say. Different strokes for different folks, yeah? Yeah, I'm tempted to get rid of my Ubi Plus. Because I could always just fire up the sub. Does it keep all your... Yeah, presumably it keeps all your progress on the games. Could always just fire it up if I want to play a particular game. Because there can be I guess there can be a whole month when I'm not playing an Ubisoft game. We'll see. Yeah, no question about it, Caseball. It's not, but I would just question the way you phrase that slightly. I think we all, so Stadia is definitely, right now, Stadia is not what they said it would be in March 2019. Yeah? But it's just the turn of phrase. I'm being a pedant. Semantics. led to believe. It's sometimes like they misled us. I don't think anyone misled us. I think it's naive to think, I'm not saying you're saying this, Caseball, but I think that there are people out there who are narrative saying Stadia, you know, when you see, say, people say, Stadia lied to me. They lied. They purposely told a lie. And my mummy and daddy says you must never tell a lie. You got a big nose. Yeah? No, they didn't lie. That was their genuine ambition and plan. It just didn't fall out that way. And so they changed. And ironically enough, if you think about it, if Google are the company that kill projects off, yeah, then if it was a complete failure, why didn't they just kill it off then and there? But they didn't. Yeah. They did the un-Google thing. Yeah. They changed direction because they genuinely saw potential in the technology that they'd got. They just needed a business strategy because the consumer behavior, the consumers weren't at the level that they really thought that was going to be there. Yeah. It didn't hit the player base and all of that, the subscriber numbers that they'd set themselves a target. It was costing a lot of money. And when the accountants come in and see that, yeah, they're going to cut down the budgets. But they didn't kill it off. And the reason they didn't kill it off, the reason it's still here nearly 3 years later, 2.5 years later, is because they still see the growth potential, just probably not right now. But in the long term, we know, as I said before on the show earlier, it's cloud gaming is going to be every day, what everybody does without even thinking about it. Yeah. And they know they've got the tech to do that, whether they do it directly themselves or work with partners or both. Yeah. Remember that, both. Yeah. So I think it's interesting that people always sort of say Google kill thing off. I'd say, yeah, they do. But they also keep things alive that they think have potential, and they take and play the long game. And that's what they're doing here. In my opinion, that's what they're doing here. So I don't think anybody, and again, Caseball, I'm not saying this is what you're saying, but I don't think anybody misled us. I think genuinely, you know, you get on that stage, you've just hired Jade Raidman, you just hired Sharon Studstill, you know, you're entering these big conversations, you've done big deals with EA, you're talking to the industry, this is your vision. This is what your business plan is based on. But it clearly didn't pan out how they thought it was in the beginning and had to readjust. But that's not misleading people. When you read that on somebody, and they lied to me. What do you mean they lied to you? What, you 6? Not you, Caseball, but you know what I mean. People who say, Stadia lied. Grow up. You're not bloody 6. Have a lollipop. I believe. Roger believes St. Row is coming August 23rd. I hope so. Stadia's awesome, lo-fi. You know what it is? For some people, for me, I love it. I love it. I'm not that bothered about the massive games. I want it to thrive. Of course I do. If anything, okay, let me backtrack. Of course, I'd love to see big games on it because it would mean it is thriving and we've got to the place where it needs to be. But, you know, I can't say too much, but it's going to be all right. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to say anything. Stages for dads. Yay, happy Father's Day. It certainly is. 100%. I got out of game because of time down and keeping with the Joneses. Yeah, well, exactly. Well, it is. It's that, you know, when the cars came out, they used to have a person that would walk in front of the car with a big red flag to warn people. Yeah. So the car was going at walking pace, but to warn people so they didn't get knocked down. Damn polluting cars! Horseless carriage! You damn polluting horseless carriage! I think you're right. I think Stadia pitches to hardcore gamers initially with their 8K 100. Yeah, but then went to casual model. Well, the irony is, you see, the problem is, and I've talked about this before, in my view, when they were pitching, they were talking to developers and publishers when they announced Stadia, and they talked about potential 8K. So, and that's what you at the Game Developers Conference, yeah, GDC. And GDC is a technical conference for the industry. They'll have seminars where they'll talk about, programming in Unreal Engine or whatever. Because I've been to GDC. I've used to go to GDC many years ago. So it's a sort of the technical for developers and game development and publishers, that the game development side of publishing, rather than E3, which is more the publishing side. GDC is more the technical development side. And so when they announced Stadia at GDC, that's who they were talking to. But what happened, of course, is then that feeds out into the general gaming press, into the consumer gaming press, and then people simplify things in their head and they go, what? So it's better than the Xbox? And they don't look at the technical detail, why it was said or the context in which it was said. And they just said, apparently Google say they're better than the Xbox Series X, or but what they're talking about is aspects where so the detail and the nuance is lost. And part of that's on Stadia by not managing that message properly. But I think that's where some of the issues came out. Clyde, why are you always making excuses for Stadia? I'm not trying to make excuses for Stadia. I'm trying to perhaps provide a logical explanation. But I think what happened is that 8K, 120 frames per second future sort of seeped through into the sort of hardcore gamers conversation. And then when it didn't happen, it's, yeah. And Francisco, again, Suarez, no relation to Luis Suarez. I get it. I get that people feel they've been let down by the change in direction. And yeah, but I think if you, again, I would hark back. If it's not for you, walk on. Yeah. There's nothing wrong in that. It didn't turn out how I expected. Fine. I'm not saying you personally, but I'm saying of people who are, going to be annoyed that things didn't pan out. It no longer provides the games that they're expecting or they want. It's not what they thought it was going to be. Things changed. I can get why that is annoying, but it's not as though you spent 500 quid on a box to then find that out. So it's a low risk investment that you may have made, may or may not have made. And if you've invested in, if you're the sort of person, therefore, you can say, well, Clive, I have invested because I bought some games. Well, guess what? You bought those games and you enjoyed those games. They're probably the AAA games because that's the nature of the gamer you are, because that's why you're disappointed now because you're not seeing those AAA games. You've still got those AAA games. You enjoyed them when they came out. Who's to say you're not going to enjoy them now? They're still there on Stadia and it's not costing you anything. So again, I'm not having go at you, Francisco. I'm just saying the sort of people, if you're disappointed by a product, that's fine. As Sunny Cloud Gaming says, vote with your wallet. Vote with your wallet. But the irony is the games aren't going anywhere. They're just there for you. You don't have to have a Stadia Pro. You can come back anytime. And the games you bought, you probably enjoyed. So, cut off your nose and spite your face and never play that game again because it's Stadia. It's like that tweet when Capcom announced the Resident Evil Village demo. And somebody tweeted, oh my God, you can play Resident Evil Village. You just click the link, right? You click that link and you're playing Resident Evil Village. That's absolutely amazing. My mind is blown. I can't believe it. And somebody says, yeah, it's powered by Stadia. What? Yeah, it's powered by... Oh, it's crap. No, I'm not interested. It's like, well, you're now not going to play it because it's somehow powered by Stadia. That's just like a little bit dumb, isn't it? It's like you were just blown away by the concept. And then when you find out who kind of developed the concept, you're like, I think Stadia was originally sold as something for... I think Stadia was sold as a technology that had potential. That's how I look at it, Crow. And they've had to change. That's not to say it won't have, 120K or whatever. They can't upgrade it. It's just not happened at the speed and expectation that many people have thought. Myself included, to be honest. Many people, I didn't go, well, you know what's going to happen. I'm not sitting here. People go, oh, Clive, you're always defending Stadia. I'm not sitting here going, on November 2019, when I got my Stadia, I said, yeah, I know they promised 8K 120, but you know what will happen in 2.5 years? We'll just be wondering why we've got so many indie games, and we'll be losing out on all the big AAA games. Oh, yeah, I knew that back then, but I was quite happy. No, of course not. I bought into the dream and all of that like anybody else. But I'm enjoying it so much that actually, yeah, so they changed direction because they had to. Not because they want to, because they had to. And it's because they realized there's still potential here. And so these things that were promised, I still believe will come, but just a bit later. And in the meantime, I'm happy picking up the controller to watch YouTube. I fancy a quick game of FIFA. Flick to the Stadia app, grab my controller, playing FIFA 22 within seconds. I'm happy with that. So, yeah, whilst I get some people aren't, and that is 100%, get yourself down your local GameStop, Walmart, Tesco's, whatever it is, Best Buy. Get yourself PlayStation 5, Xbox, whatever. Subscribe to GeForce Now if that's what you want. That's fine. Fine. I play more games than ever because of cloud gaming. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, Caseball. I've played more variety of games than I ever did on my Xbox because I used to become a bit obsessed about games. I played like a whole year non-stop Minecraft, and then a whole year non-stop Overwatch 2, and then about a whole year non-stop Sea of Thieves. And then Stadia came along, and I can't tell you how many games. And part of it, here's a challenge. Here's a challenge I put out to gamers. I bet you I've got more games in my Stadia library than you've got on your Xbox, or you've got on your PlayStation, or you probably got on your PC. Yeah. I bet I've got more games. I bet most people who play Stadia have got more games than you've got on your Xbox or your PlayStation. And as a result, I think you play a greater variety because it's all in the cloud. I'm not having to make room. Like 4 games. That's the thing. How much of negative advice will say do you think comes from it being a Google product? I think there's certainly an element to argue that. Yeah, it's because it's we've talked about it. Microsoft had the same issue when they entered the gaming market. You're a PC company. Why are you coming in the console gaming market? The same thing. People become very siloed in the way. No, gaming is PC Master Race, PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch for the weirdos. That's it. And it's like weirdos and kids. So when not, Amazon, you could say the same about Amazon, except Amazon are rolling out slowly, So yeah. Happy Juneteenth. Exactly, Jack. Thank you, Jack. Only, yeah, exactly. They, and as I've said before, GeForce Now know that people are going to stop buying PCs in the future. So they still want to manufacture graphics cards. So renting them out is the next best thing. That's why they do it. Worms. Oh, yes. Worms WMD as a Stadia Pro title. Early doors. Yeah, exactly. That's the Purple Haze. Exactly. Stadia Pro. Pause. Stop. Come back. They're all there. That's the great thing. AWS are lazy daisies. on whiskey driving or walking. Whiskey driving. I will, Francisco, for you. I'll try and get. I did load them up on podcasts for a while, but it took an effort. But I'll try. You know, for you, Francisco, I will do it because your surname is Suarez. Linear TV. Oh my God. Thank you, Jerome. Google Prime, the Google cloud gaming pump with Haven for Sony. I wonder if they can make it so you can buy a game direct from Capcom store. It also makes it available on Stadia. This is what I'm thinking. I'm wondering that in the future is now rock. I think cloud may be a thing of the future. You never know, Rock. I think you might be onto something. Yeah. The new, Avatar game. Do you know if, well, I don't know. I think actually, I don't know, to be honest, but I imagine it's more about helping port existing games. Because I think if you're already developing games and you have Stadia in mind, it's probably easier to develop the game with Stadia in mind, with the other platforms, with Unity and Unreal Engine, than finish the game and then port it. Because I think if you're porting games, it probably does restrict. I don't know, but I imagine it does restrict the Stadia specific features like Stream Connect. Whereas if you're developing it in parallel with the other platforms for Stadia, with Stadia in mind, you can go, well, actually, while we're here, we'll put some Stadia specific features in the game as we develop it. And it may be harder to do that at the end when you're porting a game from an existing platform, say from PC or a PlayStation version into a Stadia version. It might be hard. I don't know, but I imagine that could be the case. I'm not sure if Google had a big hand in Scalar. I tend to agree with you there, Purple Haze. I think Ubisoft Scalar is Ubisoft's engineers, technical guys. I mean, they might have been inspired by what they'd seen with this Stadia, but I don't necessarily think, I think it's their own thing. No cues, no restraints. I think it does provide ad Stadia with similar. Okay, that's interesting, Jeremy. I'm not sure, to be honest, Jeremy. It'd be interesting if we could find that out. It'd be great, Jacob. I'm sure it's Jacob rather than Jacob, but Jacob. I don't think we're going to see those remakes on Stadia, but you never know. Although we're back to that, what I've just talked about, porting old games. It's slightly hard. So Resident Evil Village was developed with Stadia in mind as one of the destination platforms. And I think also with Resident Evil 7, they ported it, probably learned from there. So I think it's a bit more of a task maybe to port Resident Evil 2. So it needs to be more of an incentive for Capcom. If Capcom do open their own cloud store using immersive stream, then maybe you could play the games in the cloud, but via Capcom. It is a great perk not managing that decision. Every time on the Xbox, you have to make a decision. My son still does it. What game are we going to delete off Xbox so we can download this other game, Absolutely. Hit the like buttons. Hit the likes before you forget. And all of that. What's that for? No. Lugo. Don't know what it's for. They are awesome sales, Mr. Bayram pays. It is a great sale. Look, Lugo having a conversation with them in 2K in the middle. Go to the corner of the room and have a chat. Loved FIFA for $10. Absolutely. It's a bargain. It's such a great game. I love FIFA. Yeah, been saying it's late. I can't explain why me and someone else can look at the same info and come out totally different perspectives. I just did, exactly. Do you think it's timed on the website? Could be. Are we talking about the Capcom thing? Oh, wow, Lugo. It's funny, when you saw me scrolling in the news, like I own so many of the games, either through Stadia Pro or because they're Ubisoft games, it was quite a hard decision to decide what game I was going to buy from the sale. But I ended up with, I didn't realize I didn't have Saints Row the Third remaster version. So I thought that's what I got in the end. Well, I think, I think Zero Games, we should be critical of Stadia. Yeah. But our motive for criticism of Stadia, but basically it should be constructive criticism, shouldn't it? Yeah. Our motive for criticism should be constructive because we want Stadia to do better, be better, make suggestions, not because, we got some kind of axe to grind or whatever. Interesting Stadia adventure. Right, I'm going to whiz through this because, wow, we're nearly 2 hours. So I apologize if I don't come across you. The technological journey has been a hell of a fun ride. And that ride continues, Jack. Hardcore, high maintenance. Yeah, exactly. It is still technically possible. And I think it was an aspiration of the future it's laying out. But again, if you don't control the message properly, people take, they go for the headlines, don't they? Or the summary, the quick bite, the news bite, and it loses some of the details and nuances. But yeah, I can still see it happening. Exactly, Preston. Exactly. That's why, people complaining that somehow Stadia lied would say that they tried to con consumers in the industry. And that's just ridiculous. Lake. Oh, I must finish it. Must finish the game. Right, I'm going to... exactly, Christopher. That's what I'm saying. Stadia has more game. You have more games. I have more games, access to more games instantly. And if they're into scale, all right, I see what you mean. Okay, Stadia. All right, let's Stadia Adventure. Okay. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I do Ron. I do Ron. Thank you, as ever, for joining me in the Stadia chat, for a wonderful chat, for having lots of observations, lots of lovely conversation, and all of that. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informing, educative, and entertaining as ever. Why don't we do it all again? Same time, same place, next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful gaming week. Happy birthday, John Scars Gaming, and all of that. And I'll see you round, same time, same place next week, people. Thank you once again. Goodbye.